Hello, and welcome to another episode of Purple Ponderings. Today, I have with me a dear friend, Ayush Jain from Mind Bowser. Ayush, welcome to the show. And before we begin, please share a little bit about your background for our audience and also a little bit about some aspect of your personality which most people don't know
Okay. The second part is interesting, but I'll first of all quickly finish off the first part. So, yeah, hi Pankaj. Glad to be connected and be on your show. I'm Ayush. I'm the co-founder of a company called Mind Bowser. We provide product engineering services, and our primarily focus of area has been building different products in different domains, especially catering to healthcare, insurance, and e-commerce. But like over the course of my 10-year journey of my company and myself together, we've done a lot of work for companies which we've grown from like idea on a napkin to like building enterprise solutions. So it's been like all over the place that way. I know it sounds so cliche, but yeah, that's what we have been doing.
about.
And
Okay.
yeah, one thing about my personality, the second part. So I think I consider myself to be someone who like to uh, go behind things without taking any assumptions. I think that has worked for me for many times. Sometimes it has not worked as well, but I'd like to take the positives. So I think I'm more of a guy who likes to dream big and make some of those dreams happen.
Okay. Very politician like answer, I gotta tell you. Looking for some crazy thing like, hey, I'm a sleepwalker, or I am a closeted singer, or something like that.
Okay. Well, that's what the first thing came to my mind.
Okay, awesome. So, tell me a little bit about your journey to you're a very young person. You're way more younger than I am, but you've been in this space for some time. So, tell us a little bit about how did you get into this whole startup technology. Like, how did you do something of your own? Like, what's the story for you to get to where you are today?
Sure. So I think my story starts from one of the days when I read a very fantastic book actually, which was Rich Dad Poor Dad. So back in my college days, I read this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it really resonated with me, and some of the concepts about life I would say became clear, like what I really want to do in terms of like how one can create value or building businesses and so on. So right after college, I was pretty much clear in the head that I wanted to run a business, build something out and stuff, because that's what uh, creates value over time. So I started off. I worked in a startup for around 1 year, but that was the only time that I did a job. And even in fact, funny part that in that 1 year also I gave like 3 or 4 resignations to my boss, because every 2 3 months I was like, okay, this idea is really good, and I told my boss, okay, now I think I'll leave. So there used to be this notice period of 3 months. So I told my boss that okay, in the next 3 months I'm going to be going, and he used to give me, okay, yeah, after 3 months you can go. And by the time the third month used to end, I was like, okay, this idea did not work, so maybe let me stay. So that happened a couple of times, and then in all those I'd say like back and forth and like running different ideas, one thing stuck was that I found a co-founder who still continues to be my co-founder and my CTO, who is a fairly technical guy, Pravin. So I met him through these chances, and I knew that this guy is really good technically, and I felt myself to be a good business guy. So I thought that okay, this is a good match. At least whatever we do, at least we have a team now. And with that faith, we took the leap, and we said, okay, let's start doing something. So we left our jobs. We were the two people team, and we started taking on some consulting and some idea building on our own. But then consulting grew over time, so we took consulting full time. We continue to build our own ideas still actually, but consulting, of course, and running the product engineering team basically is now the more of the work, I would say, more of the substantial work that we do.
Got it. Got it. So, as you started this journey and you've been doing this, work for your customers, tell me a little bit about your perspective for what technologies that invest in, work on. What's your how do you think about, because there's so many new technologies that are coming in all the time that are
Right.
sometimes do very well, stay in demand, some of them fall out.
Right.
Like, what's your perspective and observation?
Right, right. So I think I still, kind of come from a generation, which has seen the older world, I would say, because I passed out from college in like 2010. So it was still, not as fast as it is today, with like how technology changes. I think, during our time, it was still PHP and Java and technology, still used to take a lot of time to change, basically. Like, at that time, the innovation used to happen like every 5 years or 7 years, which right now I think is happening every 5 months or 7 months, which brings its own advantages maybe, but I think I am an old schooler when it comes to choice of technology. So I think, for a MVP, again, I'd say, use any technology that make like helps ground running. So it could be like anything that, as a founder, you yourself understand. Like, in fact, personally, I'm in right now at this present time, I'm trying to learn a lot of no code tools also, because I think that is a good way to build concepts. But I'd say if you are looking for a proper building up of platform or any solution, then I think you have to go with the long old way, because I think that gives you more scalability, more integrations, more of an ecosystem to hire a team and scale it up very, very quickly. Because let's say you build something in, say, let's say GraphQL, for example, but then hiring 20 GraphQL people, I think, is very, very difficult as compared to if you build something in, say, Java. I think you have better chances to find 20 people in a month. So that's what I think. Eventually, it has to come down to like practically what you can run with. But for the MVP, I'd say take any technology that works for you. And I'm an advocate for even no code nowadays for MVP.
Awesome, awesome. What are some no code options for building an MVP product these days?
Yeah, so that's interesting question, because I've been educating a lot of my peers as well all the time now. So no code means basically there are these tools, which are into picture, just like Figma is for design. There are these no code tools through which you can create a complete prototype. So again, this is something that has evolved over time. Like when Figma was not there, even creating wireframes was so difficult. Now Figma came, or say Canva came, so creating design became easy. Now, similarly, development, one way is basically like having a developer and do like front end, back end, database, and everything, which still is a complex work. While no code tools basically are kind of tools. Now, there are hundreds of products out there for no code. I do not have any direct endorsement for any, again, whichever works. But I'd say Bumble is one of the premier ones that's pretty popular. So what they have done is you could basically they've created a lot of themes basically, or a lot of ready API integrations, or ready modules that are available. So one can go in, log in, and drag and drop and create web pages, create even databases, create interfaces, front end, back end. So you can reach a point where, of course, it cannot solve all the problems, but you can at least reach a point where at least test your product, or you can release your product as a real product and get real inputs and figure out whether you need to invest more time and money into it. So it's a good way that way.
Got it. Got it. Excellent. So, in this journey so far, Ayush, I'm sure you worked with so many different customers. You said you focused on health insurance. I don't know if that is intentional or that is by accident, but if you want to share a little bit about your learnings, right? Kind of as a result of working with these customers in these different domains, like what stands out as both the do's and the don'ts of having these customers.
Sure, sure. I think again the do's and the don'ts are not really categorized into domains. I think I find it eventually like pretty general and in fact pretty layman terms, to be honest. When working with different customers, because Mindhauser, my agency, has grown to a bit of nice size now, and we are working with a lot of really good companies, really good people. And I see that eventually it comes down to very, very simple things being properly done, which is like, first of all, setting the expectations right, which is to make sure that, like what is promised is delivered and what cannot be done is told, before time rather than at the end of the day. So I think small things like these, or something like, like if you're building a product, I think both for insurance or healthcare or any other product as well, I think nowadays the market is more about integrating with existing products, because I think for any even entrepreneur, building something from scratch and building a market for it from scratch is a bit difficult comparatively as compared to like integrating with existing products, because end users eventually want to keep the same products and find more add-ons to it. So I think we when we are working with our customers, we found that more and more integration is nowadays required for whatever is getting built. And then I think scalability architecture, that's another lesson I would say, in terms of like keeping it right, so that later with less friction it can really grow. So that's something that is always has to be taken care of. So yeah, these are a few lessons that come to mind, which again I would say it's not related to any particular domain, but I think overall I think it's super important.
Awesome, awesome. So we'll now switch gears a little bit and just talk about you and Ayush, and how you think about the world. You're very young yourself, right? You graduated almost like 10, 12 years back, so you're still in the prime of your life. But if I were to ask you to name the biggest accomplishment that you're the most proud of, and the biggest learning that you've had so far, whether that's on the work side or on the personal side, what would those be?
Okay. So that's a pretty wide question in terms of a lot of things you have touched upon. Let me take them one by one. So accomplishment wise, I think something that really comes to mind again. First thing is like publishing my own book. So recently I wrote and published my book called The Zero Hiccup Way to Building Technology Products, and it's a guide which any founder or entrepreneur, even a non-technical person, can use to build a technology product. It lays down the complete roadmap, and it's a very to-do kind of book. I think Pankaj, you've already checked it out from a past conversation, I know. So it's a very to-do kind of book that anyone can read and learn like how to build technology products, because I see that in the world eventually, like there's more and more overlap happening between technology products and people with domain experience but less technology experience, you know being able to build technology products, because that's how technology becomes a enabler, I would say. Like people who are, let's say, coming from an experience, let's say in healthcare, in insurance, or in any domain, and they really know what the problem is, but they do not know how to enable it with technology. So I wrote this book to enable such people that they can learn and understand how a technology roadmap is, how they can build it out, what things they need, and so on. And I wrote this during the pandemic, so that way also I felt something that I thought about, like when pandemic happened, I thought let's do something productive because there was so much negativity around. And I know it happens with the best of us. Like, it was so frustrating actually, like nothing much to do, and like every day was same. And that time I thought, okay, let's start doing something. And I started, in fact, writing as a blog. So like small things kept adding up, and I was pretty happy after 2 years that it all came together as a book, and pretty proud moment for me. And yeah, that I think is now the biggest achievement.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's a great, wonderful book. I've read it and sort of, or rather proofread it before, and not a lot
Nice.
of nuggets of wisdom. So, highly recommend the audience to check it out. Right, it's an amazing book. Awesome.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and Pankaj, you had some other parts to this question, so maybe
yeah, learning,
you
biggest
want to
learning
tell.
so far.
Yeah. So again, I'd say there are many learning. I'd say rather than keeping one big learning, I do have a lot of micro learnings that have helped me a lot. One of the first ones that come to mind is that if something you come across and you feel it won't bother you after 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes on it. So something that has worked fairly well for me, because this has helped me to come to a zone where most of the things don't really bother. So it's a good zone to work or to do your things. So I think that's one of the learnings that I would like to share. And then apart from that, of course, learnings around, like eventually in life you are running not the 100 meter but the marathon. So don't really get swayed by everyday things or what happened today or tomorrow. So that's another learning that I continuously keep to myself. And yeah, trying to think what else. I think another learning that I keep sharing with other people as well is uh, like like when you're growing in life, there are these always steps rather than a more uh, straightforward curve, I would say. So basically, rather than going one slope up, it's more like steps. So basically, when you grow, you basically hit a wall, and then you have to do something to get to the next level. So in life, you have to keep basically getting up and up by crossing these steps, which are kind of wall for you sometimes. But then you have to figure out a way to cross that wall. So that's also another learning that that has stayed with me over the years. So would like to share.
Awesome, awesome. And the next question is that for you, there's so much happening around the world, right? That you need to keep yourself updated. So, how do you do that? What do you read? What do you listen to? Any suggestions there?
Sure. So I personally follow a lot of reading thought podcasts of the. I'd say so. One of the things I do is basically following the venture world actually. So that includes A16Z or Sequoia or other funds. So basically that gives some understanding, like because these people are definitely like towards the future, like they are investing in companies where they also plan for say 2030 or 2040. So personally I feel that by following, you get to understand what the new waves are coming or what is happening really in comparison to future. Like recently I was coming across a very interesting article, like how climate tech and cyber security are two biggest trends that are happening. So those kind of things I conquer from there. Then I do a lot of reading and learning from on sales and marketing. So personally, I follow Andy Crestodina. He's a pretty good content creator, and like personally I follow him a lot and has helped me a lot. So that's one of the blogs that I follow. Then follow personally HubSpot and their founding team. So that's another this thing. Then apart from online, I like reading books. So I pick one book at a time, and it could be I'd say I go pretty much with the popular titles, to be honest, because I see even there are so many books that I still have to read. So reading pretty much the famous ones to start with, like Sales Acceleration Formula That's written by one of the founders of one of the, I think not the founders, but early employees of HubSpot. And then like the hard things about doing hard things and other books. So yeah, these are some of my favorites.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Awesome. So we're now in the last segment of this chat. And I'm going to give you, you have to tell me your favorite person as it relates to that area. And this
Okay.
could be the person living or dead. And you have to tell me,
Okay.
who this favorite person of yours is and why, more importantly. So,
Okay.
a sports icon.
Okay. Sports icon. I think in India we've all grown up following Sachin Tendulkar, so that remains a sport icon. Because not only accomplished a lot of things, because of course he's like for people who know cricket, like he's considered a god actually, like equivalent to Rafael Nadal or Maradona. But apart from that, again for these great people, equally, I'd say for Sachin, it was more about the way he carried himself, the humility that he showed, and the good manners, and like not getting sucked into what comes when you grow. So those were really the lessons that I really adore about having from the idol.
Got it. Got it. What about a business leader?
So business wise, I think I follow again a lot of companies or their leaders. Again, my primary person to follow would be from India. So it's Ratan Tata, Mr. Ratan Tata. So he has been again a epitome of not only building his business but also giving back to the society. So he's like a person who not only is like, of course, pretty successful in running his business, but there are like scores of stories which are real incidents, like verified, all over by the people, like the way humbly he has given back to the society, the way he has been approachable to people around, and building it all together. So those things again, like brings a direction, like how you want to be. So I like to follow him.
Got it. What about a political leader?
Okay. So political leader, I think I currently like my present prime minister again in India. So that's Mr. Narendra Modi, who again politics aside, but I find himself a good, clear leader who is able to lead from the front, is able to lead by example, and have good oratory skills, which are very very impressive. So I like it.
Got it. And finally, a historical figure that you want to be.
Okay. Okay. Let me think. So again, coming from India, I think in India, a famous historical leader or a king is Chhatrapati Shivaji, and I in fact come from an area which was his capital, like one of the major cities, not actually his capital historically speaking correctly, but one of the major areas of his reign. So Chhatrapati Shivaji was the first ruler who really came up in India, Indian subcontinent, with the idea of a country for Hindus, and then also he created a system where the ruler was for the people, and the ruler's main work was to take care of the people. So he came with that idea, which I think goes again pretty much with the ethos of India as a country. So I think Chhatrapati Shivaji is someone I really truly admire.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, with that, we come to an end to this amazing conversation. Ayush, any final words for the audience?
Sure. I'd say again something that has stuck with me all the time. I can just share that wisdom with everybody that keep hitting the dough on the wall and something would stick. So that's what I do. That don't worry much and keep grinding, and something always comes out. The karma always plays, and luck always catches up.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, with those pearls of wisdom, we wrap up this particular episode. Thank you for being here, Ayush. And to all
Thank you, Pankaj.
viewers, and to all our viewers, we will be back very soon with another amazing guest with In Purple Ponderings. Till then, goodbye.